Greetings, friends and familiars. This is Matt Orozco here from Macabre Daily, and I'm excited because I'm joined today by Alex Arnold, who is the star of Delivery Run, which is out today from Plaion Pictures and VOD in the UK. So, Alex, thank you so much for spending some time with me today.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Well, Alex, I want to say first and foremost, had a ton of fun with this film. Reminded me a lot of things like, of course, Duel, which I've seen comparisons out there, but also the most recent Russell Crowe film, or what, not most recent, but rather one of the more recent Russell Crowe films, Unhinged, where he kind of has a
Wow.
bad day on the road. So, I'm curious,
Hmm.
just really foundational question. Have you ever worked in your capacity as some sort of delivery driver or courier in the past?
No, no. I feel like I'm a bit of like a failed method actor because I mean it was such a quick turnaround on this when I got the role to when we were filming it. I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But I
Wow.
did try to here in the UK. I mean, like we have like Deliveroo and Uber Eats. I
Right.
think you guys got like DoorDash and stuff. Tried to go through the steps of that, but it's quite like a long process. So I was just like kind of gave up on it. But no, I've worked. I still work in jobs to sort of pay bills and stuff. So I kind of definitely connect with Lee in that regard. The character I play, but no, not delivering food. All sorts of
Yeah.
things. Working in bars and
Me
stuff like that.
either. It's a relatively, it's like before we had Uber and kind of DoorDash and Deliveroo and Delivery Hero. There's so many of them worldwide now. Uh,
Yeah,
there wasn't like this wasn't really like you either worked for a restaurant that delivered or you just went and picked it up yourself. So I think it's kind of a new landscape we're living in where this is not just a job you could have, but a one that could lead to a story such as this. And you know,
yeah.
obviously, hearing from your accent, you're not from Minnesota, but I'm curious, how do you go about the preparation for with getting the dialect down? Because obviously, in the U.S., just like the U.K., we have different accents for different parts of the world or different parts of the country. But the Minnesota
Yeah.
one's so distinct, and you do a great job, putting in your best your best North American accent forward.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I've played a few like American roles before, so it's not something that's totally out of my thing. But for this, I didn't really have a dialect coach. But yeah, I think basically, well, for this role anyway, I did an audition tape, and it's just you feel like as an actor, you're kind of casting something out into the ether. You're never gonna hear back from it, and you just hope that your interpretation, the people on the other end are going to like maybe connect with it. And luckily they did. And so I met with Joey at this place called Spotlight. The Joey's the director. And I decided to go in with this like I didn't make it easy for myself. I decided to go in with this American accent because like again as an actor I didn't want to have anything to worry about. And I feel like if I was too in my head and worry about how I'm saying particular words and stuff, I wouldn't have my full
Sure.
attention on what the character's trying to do in the scene. So just trying to be instinctive. But funnily enough, in the audition, like there was a few technical difficulties. The camera wasn't working, so we had
Oh
people like
no.
coming in and out of the room, like a technician coming in and out. And meanwhile, sort of holding this conversation with Joey and Liam, who plays Nathan, Deputy Cummings, was also in the room. So I was sort of between them, just keeping this accent going and just sort of being like, "Oh God, I really hope I don't drop this accent," and just kept it going. And luckily, the camera started to work and we got the scenes down. But I left feeling like, oh my God, I think I've messed that up. But then luckily I got the role. Um,
It's a
so yeah,
testament to
that
your
doesn't actually
ability
answer
right
the.
there. It does. I mean, the thing is, I think, one, you obviously the ability to kind of do that under pressure obviously speaks to kind of your ability right there to not just your talent, but also your focus in that moment. But, when you
They
think
saw
about,
this is a guy who could, outrun a snowplow truck. The way he's
right?
juggling this level of stress at this moment in time. Yeah, I
So you really
think,
were in that role in that moment, just a different level of peril, right? You're not being chased by Mr. Plow. You're being chased by a
yeah,
faulty technical.
it's one and the same sometimes, isn't it? It's one and the
Yeah,
same.
it certainly feels that way. Our fight or flight instincts will be like, yeah, it doesn't matter. This is danger. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think I think because I'm not an actor and so many folks who, watch films are not actors, right?
Mm.
I think some people either think it's too easy or it's not, or it's really too difficult to jump in and out of those characters. So what are some of the hallmarks you find that are kind of easy for you to get that accent down? So if you're switching accents kind of in the moment into an American accent, are there any particular methods or tricks that you've picked up like, oh, this is a uniquely American thing that I know will
Hmm.
help ground me in the moment or the person?
Um, to be fair, I'm not entirely sure really. I approach each role quite differently, to be fair. Um, with this accent, like when we were filming, I wasn't in the accent the whole time, but well, when I was filming, I was between takes and everything, just because, as I say, like before, I don't want to have to think about it. But obviously, when I was going home and going to sleep, I tried to allow myself time to kind of decompress. But
You're not living Lee full stop.
no, well, not full stop. But I mean, to be fair, like I was, you know, sort of, I had to keep a level of anxiety and adrenaline like within me for this role, and it was quite hard to kind of switch that off a little bit. So just because it's like your your mind knows what's going on, but your body can't really quite like it doesn't quite know, So
Right.
the way you're breathing and creating, you know, what's your imagination's running wild and think like it's quite yeah. If your body's going through those motions, it's gonna have some effect on you a little bit. But no, I was able to sort of decompress. But yeah, I had to know that each day I had to kind of like bring to it what was needed. Um, so sorry, it doesn't quite answer your question specifically about the American
No.
accent, but but yeah, as I say, I approach things quite differently with each thing, and I mean the great thing about, I mean, I think my accent is quite a, dare I say, kind of like a general kind of American accent. I think there's certain things that were quite specific to maybe Minnesota, but we've also got a lot of characters that, like Liam, who plays Deputy Cummings, Nathan Cummings, he's got a really kind of like
Yeah, he's laying
Minnesota
it on.
accent. Yeah, and I think that obviously helps. Yeah, I think that helps with the yeah with really proving that well showing that this is like Minnesota and that really helps the world of the film. So yeah,
We got the snow down for sure. I mean, I'm not in Minnesota, but I've heard famously of their awful winters and how white and kind of snowy they can be. So that in
yeah,
of itself is just its own set of perils. But you talked about kind of having to stay in that that anxiety, and I'm curious to know, what are you doing on set to in between takes to help perpetuate this kind of sense of urgency that Lee has in the film? Because I can imagine that, obviously you're not doing one single take here, so you're not able to live in kind of that moment perpetually. So what are you doing to keep
yeah,
yourself in it? But also, like you said, kind of decompress afterwards. Like, how do you get yourself back to normal so that you're not super tense and wiry the whole
yeah.
day and night?
Um, so what did I do? I mean, in my head, I suppose I'm kind of going over the circumstances of what's going on in the scene, but ultimately you want to I try and like remove any distractions and just sort of focus. For this, it was quite relentless in that there wasn't really necessarily always someone I was acting alongside. There was a lot of stuff where it was just me, I guess, trying to imagine things
In the
that were like kind of
car,
in front of me. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it just went into my head a little bit, and I'd be like, listen, I listen to music quite a lot, just to kind of, I like to create playlists for characters, and also just have some music that really helps me focus. So, I was listening to stuff in my earpods, and yeah, just trying to, yeah, just really. I mean, the good thing about this as well is that as a Brit, coming to somewhere that's like a completely unique landscape to me, like where it's snowy, you're already kind of immersed somewhat in the given circumstance. And, when you put on the clothes and everything, it really kind of makes it feel like this is it. And then, as I say, I was kind of, in the accent quite a bit because I was just didn't want to have to worry about that. So it did, I was half in, half out, I suppose, a lot of the time. And probably just walking around being a bit weird, to be fair, like just like in my head, people saying, "You okay?" And I'll just be like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm okay." But you know, film, got to do the film, so
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's very much Lee, right? He is this kind of awkward, almost kind of on edge guy. So I think
Yeah.
almost being that way while you're not filming is just a way to keep yourself in that moment. Now you mentioned the playlist. You're not the first person to, I think I've heard other actors before say, "Yeah, I create a playlist for my character." What's on Lee's playlist?
I I don't have it now, but I think I definitely had like I remember I had like the Pixies, had like a song from the Pixies. It was like kind of quite like a grungy kind of playlist. Um but yeah, maybe something to yeah, I can't remember now.
Oh, it's all
But
right, but more like musically, it's kind of like the alt
yeah.
grunge, rock kind of
Yeah.
kind of vibe.
There were some sad songs on there as well. You know, there was some sad and kind of angry songs. So a whole range of emotions really, but
Yeah.
but to be fair, not too many kind of happy ones, you know. They were just put in secret maybe just to, you know, spice things up a little bit.
You need a bit
Yeah,
of levity in Lee's life given the circumstances. So maybe
absolutely.
a white Christmas thrown in there just to kind of set things off a little bit, you know?
Yeah, yeah. After yeah, absolutely. That's a really good one actually.
Well, when you think about the production process, you mentioned like you had just a couple weeks from the point of being cast to kind of showing up on set. So can you talk a little about the production schedule? How long were you shooting for? And I don't know if you were using some other places in Minnesota. You actually were on site in Minnesota. So be curious to know a little about the timeline there.
Yeah, well, we filmed in Lapland, so in Finland. So yeah,
Similar.
majority of the filming was there. Sorry.
It's similar like looking place as far as like how snowy
Yeah.
and white it can get. Obviously
Yes. Yeah.
minus the people and the accent.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I think there's a few like kind of cultural connections though with like Scandinavia and people in Minnesota. I think maybe there's a lot of people who moved over to Minnesota like, you know, I'm talking years and years ago. But yeah, I mean, I think we had like a big kind of unit who did a few like things in Nizwa, Minnesota, and filmed a kind of few exterior stuff. But no, you know, mostly all of it was in Lapland, and yeah, the I think we filmed it in it was either 13 or 14 days, so it was a
Holy
really tight
smokes.
schedule. Yeah, and and it's set in one day, you know, so it did feel
Yeah.
kind of like Groundhog Day a little bit. But yeah, it was a tight schedule. I mean, this is an indie film, you know, and working with a tight budget, but everyone in the crew was fantastic and like was so excited to be on this because I think it's quite a unique thing for this isn't the type of typical film that's made in Finland really. So
Not
yeah,
much
it
at
was
all. I mean, to be
exciting.
honest, like we don't get a lot of
Yeah.
pursuit, like because straight up pursuit films like we used to. Like you have the old Road Games film. I think there was an Australian film with like
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis, and Stacy Keach, and you have obviously Duel back in the 70s, and maybe like a few movies like Breakdown with Kurt Russell. But these are all
Mm.
based off of like a person being chased by another person, so much as like this is more of a vehicular pursuit. And you mentioned a lower budget and being kind of an indie production, but I think one of the beautiful things about indie film and what I think shows up so well in Delivery Run is that it never feels at any point as if you all had to cut a corner, right? I'm sure that there were like things you had to do to stretch your budget, but the impression you get watching it, and this is my perspective, right? Everyone can have their own, but I think it never, there's no seams in this thing that I can see. And I think that works so much in service of keeping that momentum of going, especially between the fact that you're being pursued most of the time. We don't actually see the driver, and what he's about. So
Yeah.
we have this disconnectedness from our antagonist, but we're spending so much time with you and your character that I think we really see you going through it. And to that end, if you think about parts of the filming process, what was something that, presented a significant challenge for you, but also what was something that really felt rewarding, whether it's during or even after the process completed?
Yeah, I mean, just on a specific moment, I remember you're right, as you're saying about independent film, and it really doesn't. It looks like it's you know a higher budget, shall we
Yeah, it
say,
looks
than
great.
what it comes across as. But of course, during filming, there are certain I want to say compromises, but not really. I remember. I hope Joe doesn't mind me saying this, the director, but there was we were running a bit short of time. We had to film a whole scene, and we had several. I think Joey and Ari, the DOP, had several setups in mind. But I think it's one of the. I think it's actually one of my favorite scenes in the film. we ended up doing it in a oneer. So I won't give too much away, but it's a scene involving me and Liam, who plays Nathan, Deputy Cummings, and he's sort of like pulled me over, and I'm trying to warn him that this snowplow truck guy's on his way, and he doesn't believe me. Um, and yeah, he takes me out of the car and tries to puts me in his police car. Anyway, it's just a really great. It just reminds me like of how unique and amazing like indie and so innovative like indie filmmaking can be. And I mean, I put that down to Joey, to be honest. It was one of my favorites because it's just, yeah, it's great to do those kind of pieces as an actor, just like all in one take.
Right.
Like I love like films like Boogie Nights and Paul Thomas Anderson films where he's utilized just the one take thing, and it
The
feels a bit
walkthrough
like
shot,
theater. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It feels a bit like theatre, and as an actor, that's obviously you're not doing like bits and pieces. It's like you're doing the whole journey in this one scene. So anyway, it's really, really great, and it worked like probably better than what was going to be the
Hmm.
actual thing we were going to film. And I enjoyed it because it really also connected me more with the other actor I was playing with. And as I said, I wasn't really working with a lot of people. I was just on my own, so it was great to be able to do a piece like that with someone else in that moment. So that was a really, really great moment. And yeah, I put that down to Joey, who's just like, yeah, so tenacious and and yeah, clever enough to think of that really.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's independent filmmaking at its core is being able to adapt in the moment to what, whatever the situation presents, whether you have a permit that didn't go through or you maybe have a
Totally.
location weather issue. Obviously, when you're filming on location, you always have to combat is the weather appropriate enough to do this? And I think my last question for you is just a real fun one. But if you were asked to program a double feature with Delivery Run, what do you think would make a really fun companion piece to watch alongside of it?
Ooh. I mean, the obvious one is like Jewel, the
Yeah.
old 70s Spielberg film. It's Jewel on ice a little bit, this film. That's what I've been saying to people. Um, but yeah, I guess it's got to be another chaser film, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I love The Hitcher. That's a great film too.
Oof, so good.
Look how, yeah, fantastic. So yeah, yeah. I think one of those two would be perfect for this,
Oh,
back to
I'd love to
back.
watch either one of those. I mean, even I was, and sometimes I try and think about how I would answer my own question because I realize sometimes I'm hoisting all the responsibility on you all to respond to it. But I think even like Run Lola Run could be like kind of a fun little movie to go
Ah,
along with
yeah.
this because it is the similar kind of just frenetic energy, albeit kind of told in a non-linear way. But regardless,
Yeah, yeah.
Alex, I just want to say this has been a pleasure talking with you.
Oh, thanks.
Congratulations on the film. Looking forward to whatever you're working on next. And just a reminder to everyone watching this that you can watch Delivery Run today from Plaion Pictures. It's available on VOD. So please pick it up, rent it, check it out, support indie film. And Alex, looking forward to speaking to you again in the future.
Thanks, Matt. Been a pleasure. Thank you.
Same here.